Hi guys, sorry. First time on hosting a live stream. Just looking to see if anyone can see us out there in cyberspace. I'm going to check on the other side. I just spent a few minutes giving an intro and I didn't know if we were live. So let me check on the other side of the stream to make sure we're live. Welcome everybody. Nicholas Fiorello, the CEO of Got Space Data, and checking on YouTube to see if we're live. It's my first time doing this. Let's see. Okay, we are live. There we are. I think I gotta go live on the other stream. Let me go back. 1 minute. Hi guys, I'm just having a little difficulty getting this up. 1 minute. I think we have. Let me see. I may have two links that are working together because there was two invites. Let me see if we can figure this out. Yes, guys, there's two live ups. I'm sorry about that. Trying to figure out what to do. This is my first time even using the live stream app other than being invited last week on Sean's show. Let's see. Okay. I'm trying to take the other live stream down. I hope it's not crossing out. Can anyone check on the other side before we get started to see if that other live is up? I'm trying to end that or switch to that one. Let's see. Let me check in settings. Okay, guys. So if anybody's out there that is looking to stream on the other invite that was promoted, we're going to ask people to come over to this stream. And I think we can wait a few minutes here if I can just try to get this started. Being a little bit confused on the other live stream we have. Let me see. You are live. Edit view on YouTube. Okay, we have a few followers in. Yeah, thanks, Diana. We had the link for those viewers. I hope they're not waiting on that link and they find this other invite. That's the problem. So let's try to see if we can somehow cancel that link and push it to the other one. Let me see. I see that question from CLW. Do you think the FBI will issue indictments in the Karen Read case? I absolutely do. I think the U.S. attorney issues the indictments, but they work with the FBI. So as we have people streaming on, this is Nick Fiorello from Got Space Data. I'm going to explain a little bit about the company Got Space and how we got started. If you guys hadn't had a chance to check out the website, Got Truth America, it explains a little bit more about who we are and what we do. But I am the founder of Got Space Data, and we are developing the New England Data Corridor, which is a large-scale digital infrastructure development pipeline in the state of Connecticut. And we find ourselves in the midst of a full-on lawfare attack in the Massachusetts judicial, political, and law enforcement system. And starting back in late 2020, the company was founded, and we began developing special incentives with the state of Connecticut to bring an aggressive data tax incentive bill to the state of Connecticut to afford big data companies such as IBM, Apple, Microsoft, Oracle, Google, Netflix, and the like to come to Connecticut and operate data centers more affordably than anywhere else in the country. And during the founding of the company, we were taken advantage of by some purported investors that came off as legitimate investors that ended up being backed by some really unsavory characters in the space that invests money into companies. They ended up being a family from upstate New York, the Spitalny family. And at the time that we took the investment, we didn't realize the founder or the principal of the company was a previously convicted tax cheat and felon, Peter Spitalny. And lo and behold, we found out later that he was actually partners with George Soros or George Soros's nexus of investment companies in and around the toxic venture capital industry. And leading into the fall of 2021, we realized that we were being victimized by a very sophisticated loan sharking enterprise. And we filed and proffered at that moment to the Boston, to the federal U.S. attorney in Rhode Island and the Rhode Island FBI, our entire story about how our company was victimized by a concerted effort of loan sharks such as Raymond Green, Peter Spitalny, Thomas Quinn, and George McLaughlin, and other members of the Any Edge racketeers. And once we proffered this information to the FBI and the U.S. Attorney in Rhode Island, they opened up an investigation into the individuals that had attacked our company. And in attacking our company, they began in the late winter a lawfare attack where they filed a series of lawsuits against us starting in December of 2021, where we started to figure out what was actually happening. And it was clearly a full-on attack that was being orchestrated by Judge Krupt in the Suffolk Superior Court. Judge Krupt being the former attorney and special prosecutor of James Whitey Bulger, and us going through a series of, at that point, 6 different lawsuits attempting to sue me personally to take control of the company, Got Space Data. And in doing so, it became clear that there was a concerted effort by the court system, the clerks within the Suffolk Superior Court, and in general, later on, the entire weaponization of the Massachusetts and Rhode Island judicial, political, and law enforcement system to manipulate the entire judicial process to prevent us from ever having a fair day in court. The correlation that was discovered with, unfortunately, the demise of John Okeefe and his murder, and then later frame of Karen Reed, was very similar and eerily similar to what was happening to us, at the same time that John ended up on the front lawn of Brian Albert's house. The FBI and the U.S. Attorney was already looking at what had started in the fall of 2021 with us, where Rachel Rollins was, in fact, the district attorney at the time who opened up a bogus investigation into me as the founder of Got Space Data in an attempt to spin a false narrative that I was somehow a Bernie Madoff type character, being a tech CEO similar to, Sam Bankman-Fried, who was the founder of FTX, or a Bernie Madoff character where I had taken advantage of investors. Lo and behold, what had happened is Brian Alberts and the Fugitive Task Force, working in conjunction with the Boston Police, the Boston FBI, and the Massachusetts State Police, began this investigation into me based upon a bunch of false narratives, and attempted to spin out that I was somehow a financial deviant and I had taken advantage of my early stage investors, which we found out right around when we filed the lawsuit, that the Spitalny family from upstate New York was not an innocent family office at all. They were prior convicted felons, with the leader, Peter Spitalny, being convicted for tax evasion and money laundering. And he was using his two sons as a front to launder money. He was under some sort of constraint, or I'm not at some point arrest and incarceration through house arrest, but on probation, that he couldn't invest into any regulated type of investments. Not to mention, our company was founded under a 1933 SEC regulated corporation. It was discovered that they were in fact fronts for George Soros. So while this was all happening, we did not know that the same group of individuals were calling now the corrupted Brian Albert's hit squad were actually also falsely investigating us and trying to spread out this false narrative. And as we got closer to the courts, and we kept continuing to go to court, we were systematically locked out. We weren't able to speak. And then anytime I would arrive in court, starting around March of 2022, we realized that we were being shadowed and or tailed by a series of Boston and Massachusetts state police officers, and we were being unlawfully investigated for crimes that didn't take place. Guys, so we have some viewers on. We have a whole of 12, so I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys listening in, and I would put you guys to do some homework and check out Got Truth America, and also check out Sean's blog from Going Through the Motions, and the interview that we did with my partner, Dan Duquette, to fill you guys in a little bit more. Obviously, part of why I wanted to do tonight's live stream was to start getting a voice out there for somebody that's not controlled by Soros and is not being manipulated by other outside influences. We've been talking a lot about what has been happening with Turtle Boy and some of the other bloggers out there, and their unwillingness to inform the residents of Canton, the citizens of Massachusetts, and us as a whole, that we know there's much larger corruption going on. It does not end with Brian Alberts. It does not end with Proctor or Carl Dugal or the local Canton Police Department. It is much, much bigger than that. And these people are taking their orders from a much higher level of corruption. And I wanted to talk to you guys about that and see if you guys felt the same way that we do, as we have a lot of evidence and a lot of proof that the entire prosecution of Karen Read, in fact, is nothing more than a frame. She got framed once for the murder of John Okeefe by the deep state, but she's also has been a victim of a frame by the local media and stuff that you guys have all noticed in the way that the media is failing to cover her story and tell both sides of it. Do you guys have any thoughts about or questions for me about why I believe Karen Read is being unlawfully prosecuted within the media? Let me see. I'm looking at some questions. So Brian Barbera says he wants to talk about the Massachusetts ghost dockets. And then he asks, where are these secret courts? Well, the secret courts have been around for a long time, guys. Massachusetts is one of the only places, I think the only place in the country that has a secret court, and that is the Boston Municipal Courthouse. It was set up in the earliest 19th century. I may be off of my dates, but I'll bring it through today. And it was set up for a specific reason, and that was allowing our founders and the framers of our United States Constitution to be able to keep an eye on justice throughout the course of history, where if different issues or different cases would come up through the system, they could take a look at it and make sure justice would stay on course. What happened in the earliest 19th century, the corruption started to infect the secret courts, and it became a place where the Massachusetts court system could, in fact, keep things quiet. I'm bringing up to something a little bit more recent, and the secret courts were extremely useful in keeping the Roman Catholic clergy abuse scandal quiet for many, many years, where the courts were in fact used as a way through a show cause hearing to allow allegations from abuse victims from the Catholic Church to have these secret hearings where they would confront the priests, and it was up to a clerk magistrate in a show cause hearing, which had no record of existence and had no record of any hearings, and it would be up to that individual only to then listen to both sides of the story and determine whether or not criminal charges would be brought. And more often than not, and was also followed in the movie Spotlight, the secret court clerks would often dismiss the cases without finding, and they would continue to sweep under the rug the systemic abuse of children within the Roman Catholic the Roman Catholic Church in Massachusetts, which I considered turned into the biggest judicial corruption scandal in the history of our world, that had started in Massachusetts and continually, even to this day, roiling the rest of the country. in the world, for that matter, in abuse of children within the Catholic system. So that secret court, you guys might remember, also was a big factor in Jerry Remy's son, Jared, where he was a systemic abuser of women, and he was able to use the secret courts and his power within it. Every time that he would get charged with something, he would end up in this court, and there would be a clerk, not a judge or a jury, and they continued to determine that Jared was not guilty of such crimes and was set free time and time again and not charged. This is the same secret courts that has fallen upon even in myself. I'm also a victim of this Boston municipal secret court system, where I was charged with a crime that I did not commit by some of the individuals that are involved in the litigation I have with Got Space. So everyone is familiar with the secret courts of Boston, or maybe not familiar. They could go and check out Sean McDonough just posted a link to the secret court report, and we also have a link on our website. And it's quite obvious, everybody, that Karen Read has factually been found not guilty for the murder of John Okeefe. The FBI running their own investigation for the U.S. Attorney Josh Levy had determined, by looking at their own facts and evidence, that Karen is not guilty of running over John with her car. But it's clear that she has been a victim of the secret courts. I'll bet it's I call it the secret courts of the First Circuit, where it's a playbook of schemes and high crimes and misdemeanors that not only that the judges play within the courts, that also the clerks play, and even the local district attorneys and law enforcement. DA Morrisey is clearly been running a deep state cover-up within the Karen Read prosecution case, and he has been successful in derailing Karen's case and her venomous defense of being not guilty of these crimes. I'm taking, let me see a question or two here. So I want to talk a little bit about the Massachusetts State Police involved in the prosecution of Karen Read. So I am also a victim of a unlawful investigation of the Massachusetts State Police that ran parallel to working with Brian Alberts in the Read investigation. And I happen to live next to Colonel Mon of the Massachusetts State Police, who was a neighbor of mine, who his brother is in fact the president of Northern Bank and Trust, which is involved in another lawsuit that is connected to the Got Space companies, and how even the Massachusetts State Police is working in unison with the Boston Police and their attempts to cover up the murder of John Okeefe on Karen Read. The Massachusetts State Police has been investigating me for crimes that did not take place. They have been also harassing myself and my family for the better part of a year and a half, and acting and taking after roles in surveillance against us for crimes that never took place, all in an effort, an attempt to intimidate us to settle our litigation. But guys, I kind of want to talk about what's happening right now with a lot of the media. That's why I wanted to stream tonight and actually figure out how to use the stream. It's very unfortunate, but in taking a look at how the media and the bloggers have portrayed the prosecution of Karen Read, it is something that we really need to focus on, because it's clear that some bloggers are being influenced and are purposely not focusing on telling the public any part of the story that they are not being fed to tell. I focus on Turtle Boy and Hayden Kearney and his role as a one-point Massachusetts State Police type hitman or Boba Fett. And we go back to, I think, the 2015 in Worcester, Massachusetts. Turtle Boy was credited for outing a Massachusetts State Police, I think, lieutenant, sergeant, and officer for having their hand in a large-scale drug trafficking and money laundering scheme within central Massachusetts, and Turtle Boy taking credit for breaking the case, where it was quite obvious, and this is obvious in the Read case, Turtle Boy has been a known media smash man for hire, where he has been getting tips for many, many years from different factions of law enforcement and from Soros-controlled entities, where he's been used as somewhat of a bullhorn or a hitman in these social media platforms to focus the public's interest into specific bad cops or bad individuals, specific that the larger deep state establishment wants to take down. This is the case with Karen Read. It's clearly obvious, and there are multiple references to Hayden Kearney's fondness for George Soros. I take you back, and I will be posting these receipts on another stream, where at one point early on, Turtle Boy is mentioned and going on a live stream with the Young Jerks, Mike Crawford, who's not connected to these allegations, where he was threatening to go after, they call him Hamburger Meatball Morrisey, the district attorney of Norfolk, for singling out Karen Read. And he threatens on the online platform DA Morrisey with backing a Soros-funded district attorney to run against him in the Norfolk DA's race that's coming up. And it was clear to me at that point, when Hayden was nice enough to let us know where his butter is, or his bread is being buttered, was in fact from Soros and Soros fellowship friends. I started to look more heavily into it, and doing more research, you could see the relationship early on that Turtle Boy had with even Rachel Rollins at one point or another, being friend and foe and then friend. And then later on, being in communication with Tim Bradle, myself, in the possible representation of us, it became clear to myself and Dan Duquette that Turtle Boy was not out to at all help inform the public, at all take a unbiased view of the facts, but more so to act as that Soros hitman and pin a couple bad cops with crimes, and not so much talk about, well, who does Brian Alberts work for? Where is Lieutenant Proctor taking his orders from? Obviously, there's a sophisticated entire nexus of individuals that are involved in attempting to frame Karen Read, and they're not doing it for self-preservation. They're doing this to keep a larger secret of corruption within our courts quiet. Turtle Boy has consistently, along with other bloggers, failed to talk about or go beyond just pitting, low-level individuals, Brian Alberts, people in the House, even Brian Alberts' son, for being somehow involved in Colin Alberts. I don't know if it's his son or his nephew, involved in the murder of John Okeefe. Clearly, they were involved in the murder of John Okeefe, and everyone in the House will be an accessory to a conspiracy to murder. But it's obvious to everyone that it's much bigger, and there are much deeper root evil things going on within the Massachusetts judicial and political and law enforcement systems. And the failure of these bloggers and the efforts, extreme efforts, to go out of their way not to talk about the larger state of corruption that goes beyond the Norfolk DA's office is clearly Soros's attempts to keep our attention away from what's actually happening within the Massachusetts court system. And that is, yet again, just another scandal similar to the overtime scandal or the Roman Catholic abuse scandal or even the Whitey Bulger scandal. It's all political theater in order to set up the public to look away from what has actually been happening in Massachusetts since the 19th century. And it's a large-scale criminal municipal crime family. And the Massachusetts State Police working a ghost company and the taking over of the Winter Hill rackets. I mean, it's not without question that Massachusetts State Police has been connected to drug trafficking within its own ranks, human trafficking, and many other horrific crime rackets throughout the last 50 years of their existence. And it's no different here. John Okeefe, it's all out in the court papers, proffered information to the FBI and his friends he thought he could trust in the Canton Police Department in the early winter of 2020 leading into 2021 of some sort of drug activity that was happening within Canton and within the neighborhood and possibly within Brian Alberts' brother's pizza shop. And lo and behold, unfortunately, John Okeefe ended up on the front lawn of Brian Alberts' house, dead. And within 24 to 48 hours, the prime suspect, Karen Read, was now being framed for a murder she did not commit. Thankfully, you guys are going to find out within the next 24 to 48 hours that the investigation into Brian Alberts and the secret courts of Massachusetts and a lot of the things that have happened to me in the criminal activity by George Soros's partners, the Any Edge racketeers, started in the fall of 2021 when we began proffering to the Rhode Island office of the FBI and the U.S. attorney in Rhode Island through attorney Kevin Salvaggio, all the same types of criminal activities that, excuse me, sorry, guys. We proffered all the information at the time from the criminal activity by the defendants in our lawsuit, controlled by George Soros. The murder of John Okeefe was actually witnessed by the law enforcement that was investigating him for the unlawful investigation into myself and Rachel Rollins and her unlawful wiretaps that they gave to Brian Alberts and the Fugitive Task Force, along with the Boston office of the FBI in the fall of 2021, where they unlawfully started to wiretap all of GOT Space data employee phones and C-suite individuals in their attempts to build a case up against us for financial crimes that never existed. It's important to know that inside of that investigation, we had proffered voluminous evidence before late January rolled around and John unfortunately was murdered. And it was clear that the FBI that we thought we could trust at the moment, along with the U.S. Attorney's Office, who we do trust under the watchful eye of Josh Levy, had already been investigating this Soros-controlled crew, and Brian Alberts, Mike Powers, Carl Dugal, and Massachusetts State Trooper Proctor, that were all working to frame me at that point in multiple financial crimes that didn't exist or didn't happen. I'm going to get into, for the last 18 minutes of the show, a little bit about the crossover between what happened to me on June 6, 2022, and an unlawful frame of myself, and obviously their attempts to frame Karen for a crime she did not commit. It is the same exact individuals that framed me, in fact, framed Karen Reed. Brian Alberts was clearly the head conspirator in the murder of John Okeefe, and was also the head conspirator and the director of operations in the later frame of Karen Reed. Excuse me. Brian Alberts was also in the same exact duties, was in charge of creating the frame of me in financial crimes that did not exist, and trying to create this false narrative that I was a CEO that had fallen from grace, similar to Sam Bankman with FTX. Guys, hold on, I got to cough a minute. Excuse me. And then later on, Brian Alberts' attempt to set up a operation called Schoolhouse, where I was framed on June 6th for crimes I did not commit, later to be then prosecuted by Judge Krupt, Judge Raschuti, Judge Casper during the summer of 2022. Lo and behold, I was under investigation ongoing that started in the fall of 2021 by Brian Alberts and his crew. They had really turned up the heat leading up until June 6, 2022 in the Operation Schoolhouse frame. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. And then later on, all summer long, every time that I would arrive at a courthouse, and this is going on up until most recently, they were an attempt to unlawfully arrest me for crimes I did not commit. I take you to the exact same set of circumstances out of the playbook of the deep state. And by inside of what they have done, this is textbook. It's been going on for many number of years of many United States citizens, Massachusetts residents being framed for crimes they did not commit, it would be no different with Karen Reed and myself on June 6th. We're happy to find out that the trusted U.S. Attorney's Office and now the trusted FBI office, with the resignation of the former director of SAC in charge, Joseph Bonavallata, resigning in early May of 2023 from the office, it is apparent that not unlike what was happening to Karen, we were fortunate enough to have surveillance on the surveillance, or if we might remember, an investigation of the Karen Reed case, in fact, that was going on. So if we added up how many investigations there would be going on, I would think there would be possibly 6 that correlate and overlap between Karen Reed being framed for John Okeefe's murder and myself being framed initially for financial crimes that did not take place in the fall of 2021, and then proffering all the information to the Rhode Island office of the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office. They began and opened an investigation into Brian Alberts and my adversaries, the Any Edge racketeers and George Soros, and their attempts to frame me for financial crimes that did not take place. They were being investigated themselves for the crimes and the frames they were attempting to pin me in. The feds watched Brian Alberts and were very well aware of the murder of John Okeefe, because Brian Alberts and the Any Edge crew that Brian Alberts was working for was already under investigation since the fall of 2021 for the unlawful prosecution and attempted financial framing of me for crimes that never took place. That then spilled over into, as unfortunately Karen Reed's case took off and she was now framed and being charged with crimes she did not commit in the early spring of 2022. I was heavily being investigated by Brian Alberts and Carl Dugal and Michael Powers at the Boston Police District 1. And in addition to that, the Massachusetts State Police were also investigating me, but at the same exact time they were investigating me and attempting to build a plot that I was a financial deviant. They themselves were being investigated by the U.S. Attorney's Office for, at that point, not only the murder of John Okeefe, but also the attempted frame in their participation in the Any Edge racketeers and their attempt to take over the company that I am the CEO of. Leading up to June 6th, 2022, this was an op called Operation Schoolhouse, where the Boston police, under the direction of Brian Alberts, set up a frame working in close relations with U.S. Attorney / District Attorney Rachel Rollins, along with Judge Krupt, who's also the former attorney of Whitey Bulger, and also a judge from Suffolk County that continues to somehow make an appearance into a different district court and has been in front of the Norfolk and Needham courthouses to handle conveniently Hayden Kearney's issues, which is extremely perplexing, which we'll get to in another episode. And the correlation in the efforts by the Massachusetts secret court system being headed up by Judge Krupt, being in conjunction with Clerk John Powers, working with Detective Michael Powers, Detective Carl Dugal, and Sergeant Brian Alberts in Operation Schoolhouse, and involving the June 6th frame. We find ourselves in a deposition where my wife was being deposed, and lo and behold, which we will cover in a specific episode, it was merely a ruse to set up a situation to frame me for crimes that I did not commit, where it was alleged that I attacked an attorney, Kevin Peters, in the June 6th deposition, which never took place. I find myself a little bit later on in the secret courts of Boston, and being in front of a clerk magistrate, Jared Lowry, who we have now recently discovered is connected to other people within the Massachusetts court system that have been indicted or were formerly involved in the Whitey Bulger scandal. And the attorney allegedly saying that I assaulted, admitting on the stand that he was never attacked, was in fact the individual that attacked me. He admitted to it being not attacked and admitted to actually assaulting me. Somehow the secret court show cause hearing the very next day was ruled in to issue charges against me for an assault and battery that never took place. These are further, evidence, and I will provide. I see people are asking about receipts and such, and we will be providing follow-up live streams and in episodes. This being my first live stream, just getting this to work, not really knowing how the system works. I will be following suit and getting my voice out there. As I started this stream, I brought it online because I wanted to bring the other bloggers out there to task for their failure to cover the entire Karen Read story, and their failure to go beyond just blaming a couple low-level crooked cops and their attempts to brush what this massive state of corruption that has been going on in Massachusetts for over 50 years. Turtle Boy is extremely focused on honing in on a couple dirty cops and one bad DA, and has gone out of his way to not educate and not cover the real story and the correlation between the ongoing corruption, even in his own situation. Not unlike Turtle Boy, they attempted to lock me up for Christmas in December 2022. Turtle Boy was framed straight up by the Massachusetts State Police the day before Christmas in a plot to incarcerate him. And he does not talk about it. He won't bring it to light. He won't go beyond a former crazy girlfriend of his and how she went out of her way. He does not go into detail of the complete injustice of the frame of him and how he is being used by George Soros to control a narrative of putting blame on other individuals, low-level individuals within the corrupt secret courts and law enforcement of Massachusetts, but does not talk about the upper echelon and the Turtle Boy. Tell us about Judge Krupt and how and why Judge Krupt ended up in your case and why he was shuffling around court systems. Turtle Boy, tell us about the preferential treatment that you got inside in jail. You weren't put into general population. You weren't put into general population for a reason. What makes you special? Why did you receive a special condition in being separated from general population? The truth is going to come out that you have been taking orders from George Soros controlled media spinsters, and you've been used since at least 2015 as a media bully and a bullhorn to pin lower level corrupt officers, clerks, and individuals within the Massachusetts municipal system, low end crimes, so that you could sweep under the fall guys because you failed to tell the public about what's really going on in Massachusetts. And that is the most corrupted judicial, political, law enforcement system in the history of the United States, and the over 50 years of control by the George Soros funded judicial, political, kleptocratic crime rackets, and the Massachusetts State Police taking over the Winter Hill rackets from Whitey Bulger when they put him back into WITSEC for the second time around. I want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight. This is my first live stream, and I'll be having other people come on and help us tell the narratives. It's very difficult to do this. I will give Turtle Boy credit, but I will give him credit because he's probably the most narcissistic individual I've ever met or have witnessed in history, because he consistently goes on his blogs ad nauseum and talks for the better part of 3 hours to himself. It is extremely difficult to talk openly in this forum, and I do give him credit, but I am all true to polish up on my live stream capabilities. I'm going to do my best to attract viewers. It's interesting, these individuals will get 5,000 to 10,000 followers overnight. We all know why. And I look forward to coming back on, guys, at a later date, but I'll do some questions for the last 4 or 5 minutes. If you guys want to ask some questions. And I do apologize. It's my first stream. It's a little difficult to work this, and I'm learning as we go. So Smitty is asking about, so George Soros had him go investigate the Karen Reed case. So George Soros, through his media cronies, being John Henry is backed by George Soros. George Soros is one of the biggest financial investors in all John Henry's investments, from the Boston Red Sox to the Boston Globe. And by way of either Soros or a Soros-controlled toxic hedge fund, yes, George Soros throughout history has been operating the rackets of Massachusetts and has been using the municipal law enforcement as he sees fit, along with the court systems, to continue the operation of the Winter Hill rackets. Soros has been using Turtle Boy and media influencers like Turtle Boy throughout the country and actually the world to help spin a false narrative when Soros wants some low-level fall guys to go away, to be scapegoats to keep the secret quiet. No different in what happened in the Karen Reed case, where Karen was framed within 24 hours of the murder of John Okeefe, when we all know that the Massachusetts State Police Fugitive Task Force, Brian Alberts, was the individual that was most responsible for the conspiracy and the murder or manslaughter of John Okeefe. They couldn't let that get out in the public because that would bring too much heat to what Brian Alberts actually does for the deep state, and that is basically act as the enforcer or the equalizer to keep low-level drug dealers and low-level criminals that work within the Massachusetts State Police, George Soros-run Winter Hill rackets in line. They couldn't afford allowing one of their higher-level players like Brian Alberts be exposed. They needed to frame the innocent Karen Reed. So it's no different from what Soros is attempting to do to us, where Soros is attempting to frame me as a villain or a financial deviant, when in fact it is actually him and his cronies that are the criminals in this narrative. They framed Karen Reed. Turtle Boy got put on the scent from Natalie. Natalie is an operative for the George Soros / Deep State CIA syndicate, and Natalie is the one that actually put Turtle Boy together with Karen Reed. It's also a fact, through Tim Bradle's own words with me today, that they have been on the outs with the Karen Reed Defense Council, and Karen Reed and Turtle Boy have obviously not been speaking. As soon as the Reed camp figured out that Turtle Boy was a Soros operative and were actually being manipulated by Turtle Boy and a lot of the false narratives that he was spreading within his reporting, the Reed camp disassociated themselves and now has completely separated from Turtle Boy right around I think his second charge for witness intimidation. So guys, I want to thank you for coming on, and we're going to work hard to get a more professional stream up, and we're going to be bringing on guests and also live streaming some other talks we've done in the past, and we look forward to having you guys come on. Please spread the word, as obviously, certain Soros-backed bloggers, I mean, it's all obvious who gets and who receives benefits, new cars, special housing, special treatment in jail. They seem to get, 5,000 or 6,000 followers overnight. That's not by accident. That's George Soros and his ability to manipulate the social media platforms and the local media in providing followers overnight. It's going to be difficult for us to gain followers because we're speaking only the truth, and we're looking to put everyone on the spot. And I look forward to Turtle Boy defending himself and coming out and proving us wrong, that he's not a Soros operative, letting us know where he got his Lexus from, letting us know who he lives with, which I'm sure is connected to George Soros somewhere along the line, and informing us why he got the special treatment, and also telling us why he's not exposing the Massachusetts State Police for the clear frame of him on Christmas of this past year with his ex-girlfriend, and deciding not to talk about that. And also why he's not looking into Judge Krupt or the larger corruption within the Massachusetts State Police, starting with Colonel Mon, or within the overall corruption with the likes of Judge Krupt, Judge Raschuti, and Judge Canoni. We look forward to getting the truth out. Guys, please check out the website, Got Truth America. We just got back into it. We were locked out for over 2 months. We're going to be updating that shortly, and we'll be putting up a live stream within the next week, and we hope to see you guys soon. And I thank you, and I appreciate you guys taking this little hour out of your time for my first grade class on how to stream live. So we look forward to seeing you guys later. GotTruthAmerica.com, and have a great night, everybody. Thank you.